Hello, welcome to the State of Waste for March 7th, 2021. Give you a quick update on the legislation for the current week. Couple things, House Bill 1121, 1131. I read in the newspaper that those had supposedly been signed into law, but when I checked the website, it isn't reflecting that, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with that one. If the website's just behind or what happened, but it looked like they had a picture of Inslee signing House Bill 1121, 1131 into law. Those are also have the emergency clause in them, so they take effect immediately. So it's the emergency waiver for graduation requirements and the private school waiver to match the public school waiver. The bills that have been scheduled for public hearing, so they've made it from one chamber and have moved to the other and actually been scheduled to have something done in committee, are House Bill 1302, which is the college and the high school class, which allows freshmen to take college and the high school classes. And then House Bill 1028 for teacher certification, which the big thing with that one is eliminating the testing requirement for teachers. So that is also scheduled for a public hearing in the Senate Early Learning and K-12 Education Committee. Those hearings are scheduled for March 10th at 10:30 a.m. So more bills from the Senate that have passed through, adding the Senate Bill 5044, adding the section of professional development to include dismantling systemic racism in this public school system. That has passed and is scheduled for public hearing in the House Education Committee, March 11th at 1:30. As a matter of fact, all three of these bills are scheduled for March 11th at 1:30. Senate Bill 5184, creating that foster care contact in the schools, that also is scheduled for public hearing, and Senate Bill 5030 with the school counseling program. So again, all those have passed through the Senate. They have now moved into the House and are scheduled for public hearing on the House Education Committee. These bills have been referred to committees, so they've passed the chamber, been referred to committees, but not been scheduled for any public hearing as of March 6th. So as of yesterday, the last day that I checked. So House Bill 1113, the attendance bill, that changes the big things with that. It changes some of the dates of when reporting is required for attendance. Big thing with that one, listening to the House debate this, was that we really should be finding out why someone's attendant or missing school instead of just jumping to conclusions. Oh, they missed school. Let's file a Becca bill petition. Let's find out why and see if there's a way that the school can partner with the family to make it so the student can attend school rather than just go through the court system. So there is some logic to that as far as finding out what's going on with kids, and for teachers that want to know why kids are absent, why they're missing. Maybe there's a really good reason why they've not been able to attend. House Bill 1162, that's the reduction of credits from 24 to 20 and creating the pathways, looking at the pathways option, also referred to committee. Access to higher education, House Bill 1176, that's the bill that takes away some of the withholding of grades and transcripts. So the schools, there was the clause I talked about last week, the clause in there, or amendment, that got it changed to where after 3 years, you would be required to release grades and transcripts, so you can still withhold those. House Bill 1273, the requiring that schools provide menstrual products for females, that has also been referred to committee. And then students with seizures, that just adds the individual health plan for students, so that has also been referred to committee. And then the Family Medical Leave Act updates, that passed the Senate and has been referred to committee in the House. And then one of the bills, Senate Bill 5161, that got moved to rules, but it's still in the Rules Committee. And one of the things I learned this week with watching some of the legislation is that the House or Senate can move a bill through the rules. What it says on the website is that Rules Committee has been relieved of further considerations. And what that means is that 2/3 of the Senate or 2/3 of the House can just move a bill from rules to the floor. So if there's a bill that there's a lot of bipartisan agreement on, they can do a vote. 2/3 say, yep, let's move it. Then it doesn't have to go through rules to move to committee. It just is moved to the floor by that method. So 5161 still sitting in Rules Committee, so no further action on that this week. Now, again, the important date to keep in mind, March 9th, that's going to be Tuesday this week, is the last day they have to move a bill from the Senate So the Senate has until Tuesday to pass bills from that chamber, and House the same thing. So once we get through March 9th, then the only way a bill can still become law is if there's some financial attachment. So when they do the budget, they can actually include a bill in the budget that impacts the budget. So sometimes some of these things may look like they're dead, but then they get revived when the budget discussions start to happen. So this one, the teaching tribal history, still sitting in the rules committee. Now, also your legislators are going to be working some long days. So they worked yesterday on Saturday, and they typically will have some long evenings as they try to get bills through. Some of the bills take a long time just to go through the debate process and amendments and all that stuff. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. The new bills that I want to talk about, that have passed one chamber into the other, and I'll give you some updates on where they're at. So the big one, school employee housing. So there was this bill got brought forward to give school districts the opportunity to run a bond that then the bond would allow them to build some housing that would house school employees. So in some areas where the cost of living is really high, so they have a hard time retaining teachers. And so one of the ways that they might be able to do something is to provide them some housing at a reduced rate that is run by the school district. So it would be owned by them. There are some other little intricate things put in there that affect the laws. I'm not going to get into too much detail with that unless the bill actually makes it to the governor's desk. So this bill passed 25 to 24. So by one vote, it moved from the Senate into the House chamber. It has been sent to committee. As a matter of fact, that one just got sent to committee yesterday. So on Saturday. I always want to know why there was such a close vote, and some of the issues that some of the senators brought forward were, why are we allowing bonds for employee housing instead of fixing the schools? So if we can't even get a bond to pass to fix the schools and update the schools, why are we trying to pass a bond to build housing for teachers when our schools should be about the students? And so that was the argument for a lot of those that voted against. And the other argument was that we don't want money to be going to adults. We want money to be going towards the students. So there's that debate either way of trying to retain teachers, which helps the students, versus are we really is this a wise move for school districts to take on? So just something to think about as that one progresses through. Senate Bill 5249, the mastery-based learning. This one, it looks at determining what a high school graduate looks like and examines the pathways for graduation. That bill is something that has been done a lot already, looking at mastery based instead of all of the credits. And if you can do a pathway, then why, if you can show mastery based on your pathway, then why should you not get a diploma? So that one's going to require a lot of work on OSPI's end, but that may be coming down the road for us as teachers to be looking at whatever subject you teach. How do I make my subject to look like a mastery-based classroom? So there would have to be some training as well with that. That one is scheduled for public hearing in the House Education Committee on March 12th at 10 a.m. Senate Bill 5299, the allowing computer science class to count for high school graduation. So instead of taking a third-year math or third-year science, a student could take computer science if it fits in their pathway to meet that requirement. So this makes a lot of sense for somebody that's going into that field. Why would we require them to take another class of math or science when computer science is the field they want to go into? That one is also going to be scheduled. Oh, that one passed 49 to 0. So did the last one, the mastery-based learning. And that one is scheduled for hearing in the Public House Education Committee March 12th at 10 a.m. as well. Senate Bill 5242, that's supporting media literacy and digital citizenship. So incorporating that into the curriculum. So right now at our school, we do this as part of our advisory content. So it's done outside of any class. It's just done separate. So this bill would require the incorporation of that into a curriculum. It gave some options for what schools may choose to do. That one passed 39 to 10 and has been referred to the Education Committee, but no public hearing scheduled at this point in time. Another very interesting bill, the Senate Bill 5265, is the Bridge Year Pilot Program. And this passed 32 to 17 and has also been referred to the House Education Committee. This gives students an extra year. They could apply to take an extra year of high school to help cover the learning loss that they may have experienced due to COVID. This is one of the big issues with this bill from the senators was that it also includes an extra year of participating in either sports or clubs or any activities. And there is some pushback on that. Like, how do we want to manage that to have a student come back to school for another year? The other thing is they'll be considered a running start student. So they could be taking classes at a community college and still be a high school student, even though they kind of aren't a high school student. So it definitely is an interesting idea. Not sure where this is going to go with the House, but we'll find out. So those are 5 bills that passed the Senate that I hadn't talked about before. They came on pretty fast. That they got some of these were moved from the Rules Committee. They were relieved of further consideration. So that's why I had to go and learn what that meant. And that is all I have for this week. So just a lot of updates. Remember, March 9th is the big deadline for each chamber, and then we'll start to see the same process play itself out, and we'll get some more amendments and some changes to bills, and then we may end up with some current concurrence bills here before when they go to their chambers to vote on the floor. So that can always be a little bit interesting to see what they come up with when they start to work together, the Senate and the House, on some of these bills. So hope you have a great week and hope this was helpful. Thanks.